All right, so I want to talk about something real basic on how evil affects our lives. On a daily basis, how it affects your life. Coming in. So basically, this has to do with nihilism. It's one of the things I've been fighting my whole life. I'm gonna die fighting nihilism. So I know that I'll die fighting nihilism, and I'm gonna explain to you what this actually is. Okay. So when you live your life, you go to work. You do your best. Take care of your family. You know. So basically, what it is you go to work. Um, you have kids. You follow this life cycle. A societal life cycle, which is understandable. That there's nothing wrong with it. It's great, actually. It's a wonderful thing. So you do these things, and then what happens is you kind of grow numb to some of the things that are bothering you in the back of your mind. And those things have to do about life and death. What's going to happen to me after I die and so forth. And really, you should be more worried about how you're going to live than how you're going to die. To be honest with you, but I mean, every once in a while we think about the big questions. This is the reason why people turn to religion. Most people believe in God because they're scared of death. Unfortunately, I believe in God, but not because I believe in God because I really believe there's God, not a cartoony God or anything you see like you see in the Bible or the cartoons. I have a different version of God that I believe in. I believe in a realistic version of God. But the thing is that I believe in God not because I'm afraid of illness or because I'm afraid to die. That's not the case. Unfortunately, that's a lot of the reason why people do believe in God, because they basically go, oh, gee whiz, every time the thought of death pops up in your head, what's happening is that you kind of, replace that with the comfort that religion provides. So a lot of religions, no matter what they are, they provide a comfort from the idea of death. Okay. Now, I'm not. This blog isn't really about that. What this blog is about is something worse, actually. It's how uh, evil can sneak in your life and you not knowing it. So what it does is evil sneaks in a person's life and starts leeching the enjoyment out of life. Is called nihilism. Okay, so nihilism, not to be confused with existentialism. A lot of people, when they read like Nietzsche or somebody or another philosopher or whatever, they go, "Oh, well, existentialism is bad." Existentialism is just the exploration and study of your own existence in the world. That's all it is. That's not a bad thing. But a lot of people think they get confused with that and nihilism. Now, nihilism is bad. Okay. Now, I'm going to explain what power nihilism has, and the power it can have over you if you believe in these things. So nihilism is grounded in three things. I call them the three big lies, because they are lies. One of them is that everything came out from nothing. That means a lot of people really believe this. They believe it's scientific. It's not scientific. Matter of fact, physicists defy this all the time. But for some reason, it's widely accepted as scientific. They go, well, everything came out of nothingness. They think the Big Bang came out of nothingness. Obviously, that's not true. Uh, but they believe it. A lot of people believe it. Then, see, that's the first lie. Then the second one is that nothing has any purpose or meaning. I'm not joking. They really believe that. And also that this is somewhat very similar to nothing has any purpose or meaning. They also believe that uh, nothing is created. In other words, they believe everything is by accident. So really, there's three cornerstones of nihilism. One of them is that everything came from nothingness, which doesn't exist, by the way. Number two is that nothing has any meaning or purpose. Number three, everything that exists came by accident. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people who say that Dawkins and Stephen Hawkins and all these people believe this stuff. Now, yeah, these are hardcore atheists, but even they don't believe in that. So why do people believe this? Well, these are somewhat they're psychological fears inside people. It's like, what if this, and what, it's kind of a what if thing. It's the idea that when you die, you just black out. It's the fear of the black void, as people say. So what happens is that people start to believe these three things, that the three big lies, that everything came from nothingness, nothing has any purpose or meaning, and also everything's just an accident. So what happens when you actually believe this stuff? Well, a lot of times people believe this stuff very slowly, gradually, subconsciously, and they don't realize they're doing this. So what happens is that it sucks out the enjoyment of life. So then you start becoming depressed, and what happens is once you start believing these things, that there's no purpose in life and everything has came by accident, and we all came from nothingness. What it does is it takes the value and enjoyment out of life. And what happens, you slowly, very slowly, start to go into this midlife, kind of like a crisis. And what happens, you go through an existentialist crisis, as they say, even though that's a misnomer. But they say you go through an existentialist crisis, and what happens is you don't enjoy anything anymore. Like maybe you used to enjoy sports or you enjoy your hobbies and all that, and it gets to the point where you believe this nonsense is just it's settling in your head, and what happens is it takes the enjoyment out of your life. And then another thing that happens is it affects your family. It affects the way you behave. And then after that, then you get into serious trouble, suicide. And then sometimes there's the advent of murder. Because if you believe those three things, that we all came from nothingness, nothing has any meaning, and everything's by accident, you don't believe in God, and then you don't believe in any good, and you don't believe in any bad. You just think everything's a point of view. And what happens is that you think it's all right to murder people, and then finally it's all right to kill yourself, or you get so depressed you want to kill yourself. Now I know that sounds silly to some people when I'm writing, but believe me, millions of people fall for this. And I'm not joking. Google it. Check it out. Millions, man. So there's people who lived good lives. I always, I bring up this one. I seen this thing on Netflix about this woman. This one beautiful 20 something year old woman. Was talented and all that. Who just couldn't get over her depression. And she had everything to live for. So it was. I mean, not only was she talented, she was beautiful, she was perky, she was lively, but she would go into these gigantic slumps of depression. What was one of her major issues? The three lies. The three lies were there. She couldn't stop herself from believing those three things. That we all came from nothingness. There's no meaning in life, and everything is by accident. And she killed herself. She did. Now, if you ever look at the interviews of killers after they're caught, when you look at those documentaries, go check it out yourself and see some of the things they say. Someone said, well, I don't believe, because they believe in those nihilistic things, they don't believe there's any God. Then if they don't believe there's any God, they don't believe there's any good or any bad. Well, what is good and bad? Oh, good and bad is just a point of view. I had a psychologist who believed that once. And then I had to explain to him that I proved to him that's not the case. But you know what? People are going to believe what they want. But the whole thing is you. What do you believe? So, let's go over it again. Let's go over the three big lies. 1, that everything came out of nothingness. 2, that everything has no meaning and no purpose. And 3, everything is by accident. Now, even if you look at you can look at atheist physicists like Mikio Kaku or Brian Greene, and they'll tell you that these things are lies. Number one, first of all, you can't get something from nothing. It's impossible. Not even the most grandest mathematician will agree with that. They'll tell you you can't get something from nothing. So we came from something. What? Well, we don't know. We just simply don't know, and it's all right. We don't know yet, but that means we certainly didn't just come from nothing. That means the Big Bang came from something. I mean, there's people who say that the Big Bang we just come from another dimension, another universe. That's what most physicists believe. A matter of fact, most physicists believe that gravity itself came from another universe. So there's a lot of things that are unanswered. But basically, the idea that we came from nothing is pretty much proven wrong. It's not true. Okay, now, everything has no meaning or purpose. is one of the most fundamentally retarded lies. And when I say retarded, I mean retarded as in that it doesn't make any progress forward. It's literally a retard lie. That's what the word retard means. It's the opposite of progress. And the reason for this is you can see everything has purpose. The birds have purpose. The bees have purpose. There's symbiosis. Everything alive has purpose. There's things that are not alive that have purpose. So everything they do have purpose. The sun, produces heat. The moon controls the tides, and all these things they have purposes. And some of the purposes you can see are well ingrained. They're premeditated. They evolve to fit into that niche. So it's the opposite. Everything has purpose, not the other way around. And number three, the idea that everything is by accident. Let me tell you something, man. If you were to grab a brick and you threw that brick as hard as you could on the floor and it just split into all kinds of pieces, what you would have is an accident, you see? Because even though the properties of physics, are involved, what happens is you don't see any pattern or design or anything. Now, I'm not talking about the idea of design, there's a God, the God of design and all that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there are millions of facets that control the universe that show that things are not by accident. Okay? A matter of fact, it's the opposite. If something occurs by accident, usually it falls into the place of order. In other words, if something is caused by accident, the universe or people or whatever forces, what they do is they fix those accidents. Okay, if something a meteor comes and it goes into our orbit and breaks into pieces, what happens is that gravity all of a sudden forms it into different forms and shapes and takes it within our orbit and so forth. In other words, it makes it submit to its physics. That's not accident. Those are roles. Okay, and that's what you see in nature all the time. So basically, what we talked about is real deep. Yeah, it's real deep. But on the everyday level, from people who go to work and get up in the morning and buy houses and raise their children, and get married and then raise their grandchildren and all the things that we do for normal life, in the background of our head, there's also that thing. There's also that thing. Are we happy? Are we happy with life? Is there something that's leeching the enjoyment out of life? A lot of times the cause for leeching the enjoyment out of life is related to that nihilism, those three lies. So you can check that out yourself. But what I'm doing right now is making it obvious, because a lot of times, and most of the time, 99% of the time, it's not obvious. People start having less of an enjoyment in life, and then they're wondering why, and it has to do with this deep inner turmoil within themselves, where they're having kind of a soul journey and struggling with these ideas, where these three lies are coming into place. Just subconsciously trying to make them believe that there's no value in life, when that's the opposite. As a matter of fact, life is always to be cherished.